up, you guys? My name is Aubrey and this is my channel, and today I want to talk about the Turo platform. I want to dive into my thoughts on the Turo platform going into 2021, some of the red flags that are top of mind going into the new year, and whether or not I feel like the Turo platform is still a viable replacement for your 9-to-5 income. So let's get started. So let's just dive right into it. And I want to dive into this by giving you guys a quick backstory on myself and my involvement in the Turo platform. So I have been involved in the Turo platform since 2017. I've been a host and I started back with my 2011 Jeep Wrangler. I've been with the platform ever since. At my peak, I had 13 cars on the platform. I currently have 10 cars on the platform, 8 of which are active because 2 are being repaired. Now with that and with my fleet of cars, I've been able to turn Turo into a 6-figure business, and I've been able to do so by only dedicating between 5 and 15 hours per week to the Turo fleet. Now granted, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but for the most part, that 5 hours to 15 hours per week is a pretty consistent average. Now over my Turo career and my YouTube career as well, I've been pretty optimistic of the Turo platform. I've been a really big advocate of them because I think for the most part, my experience with Turo has been really positive, and I can say without a doubt that Turo has positively changed my life. Now, the fact is that regardless of my past experience with Turo, I do still have very specific thoughts on what the platform is doing and my thoughts on where they're heading into 2021. And that really kind of all stems to what happened this past year with the Turo platform. Now, no surprise, COVID-19 hit the Turo platform quite hard. I mean, rentals went to a almost complete stop in a matter of about a week. In Dallas, Texas, things were slow for a few weeks and then they started to pick back up. And now as we sit in December of 2020, things are pretty close to normal. But in markets that are very tourist heavy, for example, Florida or Hawaii, the market still hasn't returned to normal and there are still a lot of hosts that are struggling. But to make matters worse, COVID-19, in my opinion, wasn't the worst thing to happen to the Turo platform in 2020. In fact, I think the worst thing to happen to the Turo platform was their slew of policy changes that they implemented mainly over the summer. Over the summer, Turo implemented a ton of policy changes in an effort to finally become profitable. And a lot of those policy changes came at the cost of the host by taking control out of the host's hands. Now, a few examples of these policy changes include a change to the pricing structure, which means that there is now a pricing ceiling and a pricing bottom, meaning you no longer have the flexibility you once did in order to price your vehicles. Additionally, they changed their protection policy. Before, they used to make it so that you would just pay Turo a flat fee, and depending on your protection plan, you could be protected up to a certain amount. For example, I chose the 70% plan, meaning I kept 70% of my earnings, Turo kept 30%, but as a result, if my car was ever damaged, if it was ever in an accident, I was 100% covered with no upfront payment on my end. But over the summer, they changed this, and they now made it so the 70% plan now requires a $250 deductible. That means I am still paying 30% of my earnings to Turo, but now in the case of an accident, in the case that one of my cars are damaged, I now have to pay a $250 deductible on behalf of the guest. This makes it extremely frustrating because now if damage is done to my cars that is valued at less than $250, it's not even worth claiming. And oftentimes I just have to eat the cost of that, which really comes out of my bottom line. The other Turo policy that was changed that drastically affected Turo hosts was the mileage policy. Now in the past, Turo has had a mileage policy to where you can set your own mileage for your vehicle, but the minimum amount that you could offer per day is 100 miles per day, meaning that if somebody rented my car, they could drive 100 miles per day, but if they went above that, they would have to pay a fee per mile that was driven on the car. For me personally, I had my cars set at a very competitive rate. I had them set at the cheapest in the Dallas area, but if they went over miles, they had to pay about 75 cents per mile. So it was able to offset the cost of pricing my cars at such a cheap price. But over the summer, Turo changed this policy really drastically. They made it so that now we didn't have the freedom to set our own overage miles limits, meaning the days of getting 75 cents per mile was long gone, and now I only get about 6 cents per mile. On top of that, and to make matters worse, Turo now made it so that the minimum amount of miles we could offer per day is 200 miles. So theoretically, somebody could rent one of my cars, they could drive 6,000 miles in a month, which is a lot of miles, and they would not have to pay a single dollar more than if they would have just driven 100 miles. Now this mileage structure is really detrimental, especially to newer cars. It increases the cost of maintenance on vehicles, it increases the depreciation rate of vehicles, and it decreases the bottom line and the profit margin margin for Turo hosts. Now, these policies and more were really big turning points for Turo and the Turo platform. And it really is what opened my eyes up to the concern of moving forward on the Turo platform. You see, in 2019, my goal for 2020 was to get to 20 cars. I wanted to double the amount of cars I had in my Turo fleet, and thus I wanted to double my profit as well. But obviously that didn't end up happening because I started the year with 10 cars and I'm ending the year with 10 cars. And in the meantime, I added a few cars that ultimately ended up getting totaled. Now, my concern with Turo moving forward is the fact that Turo has the ability to change policies at any time. They can change whatever policies they want, and all they have to do is send an email to you letting you know that the policies have been changed. This is something that is really concerning, especially for Turo hosts that have multiple vehicles on the platform, especially for Turo hosts that have replaced their 9-to-5 job with a Turo fleet. Now, these policy changes really, quite honestly, opened my eyes up to the concerning aspects of the Turo platform, and that is the fact that at the end of the day, regardless of how much money you're making on Turo, regardless of how many cars you have and how big your fleet is, you will never have majority of control of the Turo platform, and thus you will never have majority of control of your Turo business. And that's a big negative in moving forward with the Turo platform as a full-fledged business. Turo can change any policy they want, and they can do so by simply just changing the policy, giving you a notice, and emailing you letting you know that the Turo policy is changing. And depending on what policies they change, depending on what decisions they make, that can drastically affect your bottom line. Now, not all is bad in the world of Turo. Now, for the most part, I understand why Turo made these policy changes and these policy shifts, and it really comes down to profitability. Turo has to become profitable. They have to make money because as of right now, they have never had a profitable quarter and they can't continue doing that forever. But the sad reality is that Turo's profit oftentimes may come from the cost of the host. If Turo needs to cut costs and to cut expenses, they aren't going to do that by cutting down on their marketing or by cutting down on their in-house expenses. They're going to most likely do that by cutting down on some of the liabilities that are associated with having hosts on their platform. Things like smoking fees, damage claims, overage reimbursements, and so much more. This is where the brunt of the costs on the Turo platform are coming from, and this is where Turo has to cut their costs in order to ultimately become profitable. Now, regardless of my thoughts of 2020 and kind of the negativeness that 2020 has had in regards to Turo, my thoughts for 2021 are actually quite positive. I am pretty optimistic on Turo and the Turo platform going into the new year, and the reason for that is that I think that if you're able to operate a successful Turo business or a profitable Turo business in 2020, I think that you can probably operate a profitable Turo business in any environment. I mean, 2020 has tested Turo hosts and peer-to-peer car sharing hosts in more ways than one, from policy changes to COVID-19 to lockdowns and so much more. So if you're able to make and sustain a profitable business in 2020, I think you can absolutely do it in 2021. And I think that if you're one of those people that were flourishing in 2020, then you should look to expand in the new year. For me personally, I am looking to expand my Turo fleet. I'm currently at 10 cars, but I never really have more than 8 cars active on the platform because of maintenance and repairs on vehicles. So as a result, I would like to add between 2 and 3 cars in the first quarter of 2020. That way I can get to about 12 or 13 cars, and I'll always have 10 cars or 11 cars active on the platform, regardless of how many or which ones are being maintained or repaired. Now, in my opinion, do I think that Turo can replace your 9-to-5? Yes, I think that it can, but that isn't the question that should be answered. Instead, the question should be, should Turo replace your 9-to-5? And I think the answer there is no. I think that Turo is an excellent side hustle. If you can figure out a way to run a Turo fleet passively, like I do with 5 to 15 hours per week time commitment, I think that there is not a better side hustle out there. I think that Turo is the best side hustle if you're able to get your operations down to an absolute T. But where I think Turo can get yourself into trouble is by spreading yourself too thin on the Turo platform. By quitting your 9-to-5 job, you take away that income stream, and you're relying 100% of your income on a platform and a business model that you ultimately don't control. And in my opinion, I think that that is just simply too much risk. If you're able to operate Turo in a passive way, if you're able to do it in addition to your main stream of income, I think that there is not a better side hustle out there. And I think that Turo is an excellent route to go down. But I think that's contingent on being able to create a business model that's kind of passive. I think it's contingent on knowing how to maintain your cars in a cost-effective way. And I think that it's contingent on being able to run run your business while simultaneously having a 9-to-5 or some sort of ulterior income stream. But with it being said, you guys, I would love to hear your thoughts. If you guys have any comments, any questions, anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. Two other things really quickly. Number one is I do have an affiliate code with a company called Fixed. Fixed is a OBD2 port sensor that allows for you to maintain and repair your cars in a more effective and efficient way. If you guys are interested in checking that out, I will have the link in the description below. You guys should definitely check it out if you're somebody who's interested in joining Turo, learning more about cars and more how to effectively maintain your Turo cars. Additionally, I will be releasing a Turo course. It is coming out January 1st. I will be letting you guys know whenever that is released and when that drops, but that course will teach you exactly how to do exactly what I was describing in this video, how to start a Turo fleet and how to run that Turo fleet as passively as possible. So make sure to keep an eye on that. But like always, you guys, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.